Hello, chosen one. Let me ask you this. How much of your life have you wasted trying to prove your worth to people who don't even see it? What if I told you that the harder you try, the more invisible you become? Here's the truth. You're not meant to prove yourself to anyone. When God chose you, He already defined your worth. Their opinions don't matter, their rejection doesn't define you, and their approval is irrelevant. You were set apart for a purpose far greater than they could ever understand. In this video, I'm going to show you why chasing approval is holding you back, and how living for God's approval alone can set you free to step into your true purpose. Stick around. This could change everything for you. The hidden truth about why pleasing people will never fulfill you. Imagine this. You've poured your heart into winning someone's approval. You went above and beyond, sacrificing your energy, time, and even pieces of who you are to hear those words. You're enough. But instead of feeling fulfilled, you're left empty. Why? Because chasing human validation is a losing game. The truth, chosen one, is this. No matter how hard you try, you'll never please everyone. Let me tell you why. Human approval is fickle. It changes like the wind. One moment you're celebrated, the next you're criticized. You're running a race with no finish line, striving to meet standards that constantly shift. It's exhausting, isn't it? The reason it feels this way is simple. You were never meant to live for the applause of people. You were created for something greater, for God's purpose. The need for validation doesn't stem from others, it comes from within. Deep down, we seek approval because we've bought into a lie, that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. But God never designed you to rely on anyone else to confirm your value. When He chose you, He already declared your worth. His love is constant, unwavering, and unconditional. So why does seeking approval fail to fulfill us? Because it distracts us from our divine purpose. When we live to please others, we trade God's unique plan for our lives for fleeting acceptance. Instead of embracing the identity God gave us, we mold ourselves into versions of what others expect. That's not freedom, it's bondage. And here's the worst part. Even when you win their approval, it doesn't last. You'll keep needing more, like a bucket with a hole in it. But don't despair. Realizing this truth is the first step to freedom. In this video, we'll explore how to break free from the endless chase of human validation. Because when you stop living for others, you'll finally discover the peace that comes with living for God. But if human approval won't bring you peace, then what will? Let's dive deeper into the real question. Are you living for people, or are you living for God? Let's face it, at some point we've all made decisions based on what others think. Maybe it's saying yes when you wanted to say no, or holding back your truth out of fear of rejection. These moments leave us feeling torn, don't they? Deep down, there's a tension. Are you living for people, or are you living for God? When you live for people, their opinions become your compass. You let their judgments dictate your choices, their approval shape your goals, and their criticisms steal your joy. No matter how much you try to meet their expectations, someone will always find a reason to disapprove. Why? Because people judge from their own insecurities, biases, and misunderstandings. It's a flawed system, and yet we let it control us. Now let's contrast this with living for God. When you align your life with God's purpose, the weight of human expectations starts to fall away. God's approval is not conditional. It doesn't waver based on your performance or others' opinions. His love and plan for you are unshakable. Living for God means stepping into a life of freedom, one where you're no longer enslaved to the fleeting praise of others. But let's be honest, choosing to live for God isn't always easy. The world has a way of pulling us back into old habits. You might ask, what will they think of me? Will I lose people if I stop trying to please them? These are real fears, but here's something powerful to remember. Pleasing people might cost you your peace, but pleasing God gives you purpose. So here's the question you need to answer. Will you continue to live for the applause of others, or will you live for the calling of the one who chose you? This is your turning point. a moment to reflect and choose the path that leads to fulfillment, not frustration. But how do you break free from the exhausting cycle of pleasing others? Let's uncover the breakthrough that will set you on the path God designed for you, realizing that pleasing others isn't part of God's plan for you. How much of your life has been spent trying to live up to someone else's expectations? Maybe you've compromised your values, stifled your dreams, or silenced your voice just to fit into a mold someone else created for you. But here's the game-changing truth. Pleasing others was never part of God's plan for your life. When you focus on pleasing people, you end up disconnected from yourself, from your purpose, and most importantly, from God. The energy you pour into seeking approval could be used to walk boldly in the calling He has set for you. This isn't just a spiritual truth, it's a practical one. Think about how draining it is to constantly wonder if you're enough for someone else. That cycle of striving steals your peace, and worst of all, it blinds you to the approval that really matters, God's. God's plan for you is not about fitting in, it's about standing out. He didn't call you to live a life defined by the opinions of others. He called you to a purpose so unique that not everyone will understand it, and that's okay. Jesus Himself faced rejection and criticism, yet He stayed focused on the mission God gave Him. When you stop living to please others, you align yourself with this same divine confidence. Now, let's talk about the fear that often keeps us stuck in the approval trap. What if they reject me? What if they criticize me? These are valid concerns, but they lose their power when you realize this. The one who created you already approves of you. He sees your heart, your struggles, and your potential. His opinion doesn't change, even when others' opinions do. That's the kind of foundation that can't be shaken. This is your breakthrough moment, the realization that living for others is not only exhausting, but also unnecessary. God's plan for your life is far bigger than their opinions. When you embrace this truth, you'll find a freedom and peace that you've been searching for all along. So what happens when you let go of the need to prove yourself? You step into a new kind of power, one that comes from fully trusting God's purpose for your life. Let's dive into that next. The power you gain when you stop proving yourself. Let me ask you something. How much energy have you wasted trying to prove your worth to people who don't even see it? Think about the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the constant overthinking, all for what? Validation from people who might never truly value you. But what if I told you that the moment you stop proving yourself, you don't lose power, you gain it? Here's the shift that happens when you let go. You stop living on other people's terms and start living on God's. You're no longer bound by the weight of their expectations or the fear of their rejection. Instead, you step into a power that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. This is the turning point where everything begins to change. When you stop trying to prove yourself, your energy shifts. Instead of being drained by striving to meet someone else's standards, you redirect that energy toward fulfilling God's purpose for your life. You become free to be authentic, to be bold, and to embrace the unique calling that God has placed on you. It's no longer about pleasing people, it's about pleasing the one who already sees your worth. Now, let's be real. Stepping into this power isn't easy at first. You might face pushback from people who are used to you bending over backward for their approval. You might feel uncertain, even uncomfortable, as you break free from old habits. But remember this, their opinions don't determine your value, and their rejection doesn't cancel God's purpose for you. When you let go of their approval, you step into a kind of strength that's unshakable. Here's the most incredible part. When you stop proving yourself, you'll discover that the peace and confidence you've been searching for have been within reach all along. It's in trusting God, not people, that you unlock the life He designed for you. This is the power of living for His approval. It sets you free. But freedom isn't just about breaking free. It's about stepping forward. Let's explore how God's approval empowers you to walk boldly in your purpose. When you stop living for the approval of others, something extraordinary happens. You start seeing life through a different lens. The doubts, insecurities, and comparisons that once consumed you begin to fade, replaced by a deep sense of clarity and direction. Why? Because God's approval is not just freeing, it's empowering. It gives you the confidence to walk boldly in the purpose He designed specifically for you. God's approval isn't earned by meeting worldly standards or ticking off a checklist. It's already given. The moment you realize this, you unlock a new way of living. Instead of worrying about what others think, you focus on fulfilling the mission God has placed on your heart. It's like stepping out of a fog and into a clear path. You finally know where you're going because you're following His lead, not chasing their applause. God's approval doesn't fluctuate like human opinions. People's opinions change based on their mood, their preferences, or their own insecurities. God's love and validation remain constant. When you align your actions with His will, you're not just living for acceptance, you're walking in divine authority. That's the kind of confidence that allows you to take bold steps, even when the world doesn't understand or support you. Letting go of the need for human validation also frees you from comparison. You're no longer measuring your success by someone else's standards because you understand that your purpose is unique. God didn't create you to follow someone else's path. He created you to walk your own. This shift allows you to embrace your journey fully without looking over your shoulder or second-guessing yourself. As you step into this freedom, you'll notice a ripple effect. Your relationships will change. Some will grow stronger, while others may fade away. That's okay. The people meant to walk with you in this season will support your God-given purpose. And those who don't, let them go. Your focus is no longer on pleasing them, but on fulfilling the calling that only you can accomplish. So, what does it look like to live boldly as one of God's chosen? Let's explore how walking in His approval leads to unshakable confidence and undeniable purpose. Walk boldly as God's chosen. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You've stopped explaining yourself to people who don't understand you. You've let go of the endless cycle of proving your worth to others, and instead, you're fully focused on God's plan for your life. How does that feel? Free, peaceful. That's because this is exactly what you were created for, to walk boldly in your purpose without hesitation or apology. When you embrace your identity as one of God's chosen, you realize that your life doesn't need to fit into anyone else's expectations. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you've chosen to live differently, dream bigger, or focus on a divine purpose that they might not understand. Their confusion or criticism is not your burden to carry. It's a reflection of their perspective, not your calling. Walking boldly in your purpose doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or rejection. But here's the difference. Rejection no longer defines you. Criticism no longer deters you. Why? Because your foundation is rooted in something unshakable, God's approval. You're no longer living for temporary applause, but for eternal significance. This kind of confidence doesn't just change how you see yourself, it transforms how you show up in the world. Living as God's chosen also means recognizing that your journey isn't just about you. It's about fulfilling a greater purpose, one that inspires and impacts others. By walking boldly, you become a beacon of hope for those who are still stuck in the cycle of seeking human validation. Your courage shows them what's possible when they trust in God's plan. So here's your final takeaway. You don't owe anyone an explanation for who you are or why you've chosen to follow God's path. Your life is not meant to be understood by everyone. It's meant to honor the one who created it. As you walk boldly in your purpose, let your confidence and faith be a testament to the freedom that comes from living for God alone. You've been chosen for a reason. Don't let the world's noise distract you from God's voice. Now is the time to step fully into your purpose, boldly, unapologetically, and with unwavering faith. Chosen one, you've come so far. Today, we've uncovered the truth about why living for others' approval will never bring peace. We've seen the power of God's unwavering validation and how it frees you to walk boldly in your unique purpose. This isn't just about letting go of the need to prove yourself. It's about stepping into the extraordinary life God has prepared for you, one where His approval is your foundation and His purpose is your guide. God didn't create you to blend in or to bend under the weight of others' expectations. He set you apart for something greater. By walking in faith and embracing your calling, you're not just living for yourself, you're living for His glory. Every step you take in confidence is a testament to the freedom and power that come from trusting in Him. But this journey doesn't end here. It's a daily decision to reject the noise of the world and tune into the voice of God, to trust that His plan is greater than any opinion or criticism you'll face. And as you walk this path, remember, you're not alone. There's a community of chosen ones like you who are on this same journey, finding strength in faith and courage in purpose. If this message resonated with you, if you felt a spark of hope or a reminder of your worth, then take the next step. Hit that subscribe button and join a community of people who, like you, are living boldly for God's purpose. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It helps us reach even more chosen ones who need to hear this message of freedom and faith. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. You are enough. You've always been enough. Not because of what others think or say, but because of what God has declared over your life. Walk boldly, live unapologetically, and trust in the one who chose you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, you are deeply loved and divinely chosen. Stay strong, stay faithful, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and keep shining your light.